So today, July 31st, Figma has IPO'd. As you probably know, Figma is a design software that saves designers lots of time by allowing them to make edits in real time, kind of like Google Docs, but for UX, UI, and it's being used by pretty much all the big corporations today. You may also know that the founder of Figma, Dylan Field, started it when he was only 19. He dropped out of college after being accepted to the Thiel Fellowship, which is run by Peter Thiel, who started Palantir. What you probably don't know is that Figma was originally intended to be 2D animation collaboration software. It was meant to be Google Docs for animation instead of UI design. I personally am very invested in this space, so I would have loved to see him succeed at making a collaborative animation software. So why did he change his mind? To get started on answering this question, let's take a look at the Thiel Fellowship application that Dylan Field himself posted word for word on LinkedIn. He said he wanted to provide an accurate founding story, as that's one of the most asked questions he gets. How did you come up with Figma? Anyway, at the beginning, the application asks you to list any publications, GPA stuff, different projects. For the one thing about the world he believed was true, but most people thought was untrue, he said that chocolate was repulsive. And for how he was going to change the world, he said that he was going to learn to create better drones. So in retrospect, it really makes sense that Peter Thiel would be interested in him. It's worth noting that he made an addendum saying, when I was writing this, I was totally obsessed with drones, but a few weeks later, Evan convinced me that we should not work in this space because we couldn't come up with a drone idea that wouldn't hurt people or violate their privacy. Looking back, I regret writing this essay. This is not technology that I want to exist in the world. Field said that he spent the most time thinking about privacy and also content distribution. So this is where I think you can kind of see the interest in content creation. He said, for the past century, mainstream media has had a monopoly on the creation of content. Now anyone can post a tweet, start a blog, or upload a video. Flipboard has improved the experience of digesting content, but distribution is still an unsolved problem. Flipboard is where he was interning before he applied to the Thiel Fellowship. So this is what I believe is Figma's reason for being. Here, Field is interested in democratizing content creation. Figma very much democratizes content creation, or at least it makes it easier for designers to collaborate. Ultimately, the reason I believe he pivoted from drones to animation to UX design is because money. That is what people are willing to pay for. There's a lot more money in user interface design than animation, because the former is used for everything, and the latter is mostly entertainment. I also don't think the real-time collaboration aspect of Figma is as valuable for animators as it is for designers, because designers have to send revisions of things over and over to their clients, but animators can just divide up timestamps and each individually animate it out, maybe stitch things together in the end. At least that's how my favorite YouTube animators have done it. Field later pitched Figma as a better version of Adobe Fireworks, which used to be the leading UX software. His initial pitch at the beginning of this post is, during my Flipboard internship, I was frustrated using Fireworks every day. Why couldn't it be more like Google Docs? So Evan and I decided to use WebGL to build a cloud-first design tool in the browser. This worked out for Field and his co-founder, Evan Wallace, because eventually Adobe, the parent company of Fireworks, decided to acquire Figma for $20 billion. However, they were stopped by the government, who thought that this would violate antitrust laws and cause Adobe to become a monopoly. Not too long ago, 2023, and now 2 years later, Figma is going public. It is valued at $33 a share, with a total valuation of $19 billion. Given that 14 years ago, Field said, 10 years from now, I want to grow a disruptive, profit-generating company that has made a significant contribution to the world, we can consider the startup story a great success. Now, will this company hit $20 billion in valuation as Adobe was offering to give them, and are companies that try to approach the big animation problem doomed to fail? I'm beginning to think that maybe it's a self-fulfilling prophecy that any startup founder that approaches the animation problem will realize that there are just way better ways to make money and hopefully start doing that instead. And so animation will remain a super work-intensive, time-consuming process.